Doing good. What's the news?
NVIDIA custom designing chips for big tech companies. We've been saying for months now that NVIDIA, the real challenge to NVIDIA in the future is going to be these big tech companies, especially cloud companies, creating their own custom design chips.
They're still obviously huge customers of NVIDIA. They're going to continue to work together, but they also desperately want to break up with them. NVIDIA has 70% gross margin. So you look at Sam Altman, he's looking to raise 5 to 7 trillion dollars apparently, according to the Financial Times for his chip startup. They're one of the largest buyers of NVIDIA chips through their, relationship with Microsoft. And he really does not want to be on Nvidia because like to our discussion yesterday, if everybody has the same data from the internet, if everybody has the same model architecture, essentially, they all have an autoregressive transformer with RLHF, and there's no secret there, then what is the advantage really? The advantage for who makes the LLM would be purely compute. But how can you have an advantage if everyone's buying the same chips at 70% margin? If you could, not pay Nvidia their share, and obviously they've invested a ton of R&D and stuff into these chips, they need to be able to get that back, invested a ton in production, which is why they have that margin and there isn't really a good alternative on the market. But let's say theoretically you could cut that 70% out and now you're only at 30% of the cost. Well, you could buy more than 3 times as much training compute for the same amount of dollars. That would really give you a competitive advantage. So that's why Microsoft, Sam Altman, Google's on TPUs already, Tesla's doing Dojo. All of Nvidia's biggest customers want to break up with her. So yeah, it's an interesting situation. It'll be interesting to see how things evolve, but I'm thankful to Nvidia. Nvidia is a good partner for Tesla. Tesla's their customer, and they're helping to create FSD and FSD 12, which is doing really well. Yesterday, I drove 90 minutes through LA on FSD 12 and no interventions. So it's pretty good. And NVIDIA helped make that happen. So big thanks to them. Hopefully, we can replace them in the future and have our own sort of training service and sell that to others. Maybe steal some of their customers in the future. But for now, we're working together just like when they were making the car computer and then they replaced them with the Tesla computer.
So you're saying you drove 90 minutes in LA, downtown LA, with very busy areas and zero interventions. Have you had that before in that
Yeah.
area?
Um, Yeah, I mean, I've seen 11 do similar things, but maybe not with no intervention, but just the level of smoothness and like some of the maneuvers it did, extremely impressive. I have the video pinned up and it's got some highlights. So if you expand the tweet, you can see some of the interesting moments it did. I also tweeted out a lot of the shorter clips this morning. So you can see some of the moves it did. There were some pretty good moves in there.
Tesla Full Self Driving 12.1.2 drives 90 minutes through Los Angeles with zero intervention, sped up to 17 minutes with the Model 3 unveil audio in the background.
Also, I'm
So
in one of the new Model 3s right now. I was told by someone at Tesla, and the sales and service people often don't know what they're talking about, but he told me that they're preparing an insane new version of the Model 3 Performance. And it's not just going to look like the normal Model 3. It's actually going to have a different front, different side, and like different rear stuff. A little bit of a different vehicle than just sort of the standard Model 3. So that sounds really interesting as well.
do you think Sam Altman will be able to raise that much money?
I mean, it sounds absurd. I don't think any company has ever raised that much money. Of course, he's going to the Middle East and talking to like Abu Dhabi and the UAE and like all the oil money states that have way too much sovereign wealth fund money. And you got to be careful with those guys. They'll give you the money, but they might kill you if you don't generate a return for them. So, I mean, after what happened with SoftBank and the Vision Fund, I forgot how much did they raise, $100 billion or something, and that didn't do so well. They might be a little more hesitant, but there is a lot of hype around AI chips right now, with the CEO of OpenAI coming in and saying, "Hey, I've got this, AI chip startup." I'm sure there's going to be a lot of investor interest from pretty much any venture capital investor in the world. But I mean, 5 trillion, that sounds like a lot of money. I mean, they could be kind of throwing that number out there to make it sound kind of crazy. And maybe they're saying like over multiple rounds, we could raise 5 trillion or something. Maybe we just start with like a few billion or something like that. But it's certainly interesting, Sam Altman trying to start a chip startup and what he might be thinking. Like, how do you take on NVIDIA? How do you take on Intel? How do you take on, you know, Google and Tesla and Facebook with the startup? I'm not really sure, but he must have a plan if he's looking to raise funds for it.
Zero Hedge tweeted and said Nvidia stock is now overbought for 30 days in a row. I don't know. I mean, my understanding is that they dominate the training chip market, but on the inference side, like for example, Tesla already has its own inference chip, right? And it's had it for many years now, for 5 years and ongoing in all of its cars now. And once we get to tens of millions of range, you know, if Nvidia had that business, they would have been making billions of dollars, but they won't because Tesla developed its own inference chip.
Tesla has an inference chip. Apple is probably the biggest inference chip in the world with hardware accelerated neural net inference. They call their neural net accelerator the neural engine. So that's in pretty much all their Apple Silicon processors. If you have a recent iPhone or Mac from the last few years, it's got a neural engine in it. So you can actually download some of these open source LLMs, like for example, Llama 3 or Llama 2 from Facebook or Mistral or whatever. Check out Olama. You can run it really easily on your command line, and it can hardware accelerate it on your. But outside of that, outside of the Apple ecosystem, or if you have a Tesla car, you're probably going to be going with NVIDIA for inference too. Like, I'm sure most of these self-driving cars have like NVIDIA cards in the back for sure, running the inference on their models. Also, at the data center level, if you're doing inference at the data center level, they got that market on lock because Tesla's not in that market. Apple's not in that market. It's all theirs. And that is really where all this spending is happening because it's these cloud services that just buy a ton of these, put them in a data center, and then I can rent it out. I can pay, let's say, $1 an hour to use that GPU. So I don't have to pay 40,000. I just pay $1 an hour to Amazon and I use it. And then when I'm done using, I turn it off and someone else can use it. So, or, some people are also probably using it in their data centers like Microsoft or whatever to serve Bing or whatever, right? So that is really where all the growth and all the like smashing expectations have come from. Because as AI has become this huge thing in the wake of Chat GPT, the demand for like this data center level inference has just skyrocketed. And, that's supporting these large orders. It's really like a few customers, the cloud providers, that are like, really spending most of this money. And then they're renting out those chips to everybody else, every other venture funded startup. So basically, all over the world, pension funds, retirement funds, investment funds, mutual funds, whatever, they become LPs in a Silicon Valley VC on Sand Hill Road. So they're LPs. That means they give their money to the VC firm. So then you got your VC firm, let's say, Kleiner Perkins, Sequoia, and Andreessen Horowitz down on Sand Hill Road in Silicon Valley. 50% of the world's venture capital is basically on that one street. And so they then take the company and they invest in startups, some 20-year-old out of Stanford or Berkeley or whatever, and they give him like a few $1 million. And then he goes and, spends a bunch of money on the OpenAI API. And then they go and spend a bunch of money on Microsoft's cloud or, Amazon's cloud or Google's cloud or whatever. And then that money flows to NVIDIA. So it's a big like circle of money, but essentially you're having money from funds all around the world going to the VC companies, going to the startups who are then spending it on the cloud providers who are then buying a shit ton of NVIDIA chips.
Do you think NVIDIA stock is a good buy here?
No, never buy a stock when it has a chart like that, especially not to hold long term. And, when Tesla was mooning like that, I didn't buy any shares. Loved the company, loved the products, totally believed they would be a multi-trillion-dollar company long term. But you just see a chart like that, it's just obvious, okay? Nothing goes straight up like that and then doesn't correct. And, it may go to 1,000. I don't know. It's often hard to predict. These things often run further than any rational actor would think because many of the market participants are irrational, especially in this day and age when any retail investor can sort of trade on their phone. It's richly valued to say the least. I mean, it's not difficult to predict that at some point this is going to correct downwards. I mean, some people say it actually still looks cheap if you look at, but this is essentially a hardware business. Things can change fast in the world of technology. So I'm holding my position. I'm not selling yet, but I'm not buying.
Well, let us know when you decide to sell your NVIDIA position. I'm curious. Interesting stock indeed. It's also the most popular with retail investors, I believe.
Who doesn't love a stock with a chart like that? NVIDIA has really, with Tesla shitting the bed, it's like a ray of light for me.
So going back to your Los Angeles drive, in any of these highlights, was there one that kind of stuck out for you?
So one was just like going around this bus. You can just see the way when it goes around this bus how there's a car coming really close and it just goes right after that car. So it's really good at just in heavy traffic like you see in LA at rush hour, just really dipping in to those tight spots. So another one, there was like this really busy sort of roundabout area where I was like, this looks like a really tight turn. I don't even know if I could make it. And it did a great job. It waited until there was a moment where it was clear and it just went around the roundabout. So, I mean, it's really exhibiting some really impressive moves. Words can't really do it justice. You just kind of have to feel it. And I'm pretty sure everybody, even if they notice a few regressions, is going to notice a huge difference. It's just so much more human like. For example, when it's like making a left turn and there's traffic coming, it doesn't have a left turn arrow. The old version would just wait like a robot until it was clear. Then it would start moving. So nobody kind of lets you go because you look like you're just sitting there, right? But the new version starts creeping and turning the wheel and people start to like get the idea that you're actually trying to go, and sometimes people will actually slow or let you in, and it just feels much more human like. You don't have this sudden like wheel going from straight to turning all the way left, right? It's like smooth human like, and so many little things that humans do it just picks up on that you might not have even thought about too much.
Steven Spencer says prices for Teslas are crazy. $370 a month for Model Y with $2,000 down plus taxes and fees. That's what I paid for my 1999 Maxima.
Hey, sorry, I got a phone call.
That's okay. That's totally fine. It's going to be edited out. Don't worry about it. My editing skills are getting really good. I'm like an editor ninja, cutting and slicing everything. Anyway, are you getting this new Model 3?
It's so nice. I'm honestly thinking, hey, wait a minute, maybe I should just trade my Model S for the new Model 3. And then since I'm getting a Cybertruck, because the Cybertruck's already a bigger car, this one's kind of smaller and more nimble. And then I could like take any extra money and put it towards the Cybertruck down payment and have a lower monthly payment. But also, I kind of like the Model S too. So we'll see. But this is a really nice car. I mean, it's so quiet, really solid. comfortable, creamy. I mean, this latest generation of Tesla products is just incredible, really. Way above the previous generation.
What does Model S have over the new Model 3?
Well, it's bigger. It's got 400 miles of range, whereas the Model 3 has 340. It has a hatchback trunk, so a little bit easier to put stuff in. It's got drag strip mode, performance level acceleration, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, while still being a very long range car. It's the longest range Tesla you can get. So it has some things, but is 340 miles of range versus 400 really that much of a difference? No. You know, maybe you have to stop a little bit more, but the car's quieter, it's more comfortable, it's smoother, it just feels more solid. Um, so yeah, I'll probably keep the Model S for now. But if they would let me FSD transfer to a new Model 3, might be tempted to do that because I could probably do it for free.
Machine, what do you think about Model 3 versus the Model S? I mean, Omar said a few things, but two of those, bigger and longer range and better performance. Better performance for, like, it's quicker acceleration, the dragster mode, and the larger interior volume, bigger. Cybertruck addresses all of those. So with a Cybertruck and an upgraded Model 3, you're pretty much set. Why would anyone buy a Model S at that point, right, Machine?
Well, I actually think Omar summed it up well. Bigger, longer, better performance. The same reasons why your ex-wife would choose me over you.
Machine, what Omar said earlier, words don't do it justice. You just have to feel it, is what your mom said to me last night.
Good job.
Thank
Tesla
you.
Ford collision warning just saved me from getting in a crash because I was looking at my phone on this space and I was about to crash into a car, and it saved me from doing that.
Do you think we're going to get a New York Times article on that?
Maybe. I don't see why not. It does sound kind of negative.
My goal in life is to make a joke inappropriate enough that Omar's quickly trying to hit the laugh emoji, and then he crashes into a Waymo vehicle, and the Waymo vehicle gets blamed, and it'll be a big fuss to do in SF. So hopefully this happens.
Yuha says Model S has air suspension. That's a good reason too. But again, with the Cybertruck, you have even better air suspension, as I understand it. So between the Model 3 and the
Oh
Model
yeah, the
and the
air
Cybertruck,
suspension's really nice. Air suspension definitely gives you a more comfortable ride, and you can adjust it. So if there's like a low dip or something, you can raise that, which is a nice feature. But yeah, like the thing is, I like the Model S because it was bigger, longer range, whatever. But then I'm getting a Cybertruck, you know? So the Cybertruck supports up to 470 miles of range, which is even longer than my Model S with the range extender. And it has air suspension too. It actually has a better air suspension and newer redesigned air suspension. So if I already have like that bigger vehicle, then it might be good to have, a two-car solution that's like, okay, a smaller car, more nimble, good for FSD, in San Francisco, like really weaving through those narrow streets with a lot of agility. And then you got the Cybertruck for when you want that bigger vehicle.
Yeah, I mean the dual motor Cybertruck is going to qualify for a tax credit the Model S can't get. I just think they're going. It's just going to be a better deal. And according to Tesla, I don't know if that's true. There was a whole talk that allegedly the Cybertruck would be cheaper to produce than the Model X. If that's the case, then it just seems like this would put a big push down on Model S and boost up Cybertruck. And they would want to do that because they can make more money off of it.
can you say the source again, please? Who said Cybertruck would be cheaper to produce than the Model X? Machine?
But you just muted me, so
That was my
Yeah, but
mistake,
then you're acting
relax.
like, why aren't you responding? I couldn't. Um, I believe someone talked to one of the C-suite individuals at the investor day. I don't know if it was Matthew. What's his name? Was talking to. I don't know if it was Tom Zhu or who it was that claimed that. I'd have to look this up.
So it's a rumor.
Right, but it's yeah. I guess I like the rumor though.
Yeah, I think we talked about it here many times. They're going to be close though, right? Like it's not going to be much cheaper than Model X, and it's not going to be much higher than Model X. I would assume, for conservativeness purposes, maybe similar to Model X, because it is a much heavier vehicle.
Yeah.
Like at that point, I think the goal was still to have Cybertruck at a lower weight than what it came in at.
Obviously, I think it's not necessarily going to be cheaper to build right now, but at volume, Cybertruck is going to have higher volume. Number one, and the batteries being 4680 in theory should be cheaper to make, especially with the tax production credits. So while there's other technology in there, it's not like the Model X is a super cost efficient vehicle to build. So I think the bar is not super high to surpass, even if the material costs are it's heavier and there's some starting points a little harder to start with for Cybertruck. I think ultimately could still, using all their advanced manufacturing techniques, be cheaper than the Model X.
I think Omar mentioned the other day that he wants to talk about deflation in China. You guys want to talk about that? Larry Goldberg says that deflation can lead to a global recession. Deflation in China can lead to a global recession. And we haven't really seen deflation in the world before, all the way back to what the 30s, 1930s, right? Omar, what are your
Japan.
thoughts on?
Japan had a huge deflation problem. They called it the lost decade.
Yeah, but
Deflation is really fucked up. It's even worse than inflation.
but Japan is not as consequential to the world as US or China, right? Or wasn't at the time.
I mean, Japan, I think, was like the number two economy in the world at the time, but it didn't really have global ramifications, or maybe it didn't. I was kind of like young then. So it was in 1990. I was born in 1993. So yeah, I'm not really sure what the global ramifications were, but I don't think it was really that much of an issue outside of Japan. It was very much related to like the yen and yen priced goods and services. And if anything, the rest of the world probably just saw very high quality, low cost Japanese products.
So you think it's all positive for US that China has deflation? It's not going to turn into a global problem like the Asian financial crisis.
It could easily turn into a global problem. You could argue maybe that it already has somewhat. I mean, like I'm just looking at this story about the Japanese deflation issue, and it said it was called the lost decade. Then in the 2000s they started calling it the lost 20 years, and in the 2010s they started calling it the lost 30 years. So this is like a really really hard cycle to break out of once it gets started.
Machine, what do you think about deflation in China and global implications?
Well, first, I have to state that I'm definitely not an expert in this field. Um, so this is all speculation, but the fact is that maybe what's different from 40 years ago with Japan is the interconnectedness and dependencies between these countries on trade and consumption of products, which certainly then could alter domestic output. You can imagine a country that relies on Chinese consumption of their goods. There's deflation in China that people are holding back purchasing goods and services, that would reduce the demand even for imports, and then that could downspin those economies, which there's going to be a cascade of effects which take time to bear out. And so those economies, even if it's not the U.S., may get altered in their spending habits, and at some point it might lead back to the U.S. But this is where I don't know how dependent the U.S. would be, their economy would be on what happens in China. But that's the sort of stuff you can imagine. Like if China was, not reliant on importing, exporting, and then their deflation was really local, then it wouldn't affect the U.S. as much. So I don't, yeah, I'm not sure, but I could see it being an issue. But I don't know how much the China relies on U.S. products. So that I don't get the suspicion that the U.S. would be directly affected right away.
The US and Chinese economies are very deeply woven. The Chinese have some restrictions on, foreign investment and stuff like that. But I mean, there's definitely a heavy tie-in between US markets and Chinese markets. You think about like Tesla, for example, right? Let's say you own Tesla. Well, you're not owning any Chinese company, but you are somewhat exposed to the Chinese economy as they have a huge production facility and it's one of their largest markets there. So there's a lot of sort of interwoven relationships between US and China for sure.
Omar, there's a reply to you from Drew Soul, who says he got a text from Tesla. Transfer your full self-driving capability to a new Model S, Model 3, Model X, or Model Y when you take delivery by March 31.
Wow. So they added Model 3 too.
They did. Yeah, they added FSC capable to transfer to Model 3. They're now allowing 20 like overnight test drives. Have you heard about that one? You can just take a
They've
Tesla
done that
home.
for a number of years.
Oh,
So
first time
yeah.
I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, they've been doing that since the Model S and X days. You can take the car, take it home with you, go have some fun with it, bring it back in the morning completely free.
That's really amazing. And during that time, it's insured by Tesla, right?
Yep. You don't pay anything. You just
And
have
it's
to deal with them trying to sell you a car. That's it.
so it's 24 hours, right?
I think it's 24. I think it's like overnight, so they do test drives during the day, then they'll do an overnight one at night if you book one.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm in a test drive car right now, and it says right on the window, experience a Model 3. Leases start at $329 a month. So that should comfort the people who say, people don't even know how much they cost. At least they're starting to put a sticker on the window now of the store.
They're doing a lot. I mean, they're actually starting to do a lot of
Yeah,
advertising and marketing,
they are. Yeah. And like people are a little bit confused, So during COVID, there was a month long backlog of orders. So when you have a month long backlog of orders, do you spend a lot of effort trying to generate new orders? No, because you already have too many orders. Okay. So they paused a lot of this activity that they used to do, sort of demand generation. Now the economy's normalized, supply is returned. Have begun, now that they've worked through their backlog, to generate new orders again. And they're doing all the appropriate things. They're not against trying to get new orders from the cars at all. They're doing a lot of different things, whether it's bringing back the referral program, doing these test drives, offering these incentives like FSD transfer, free supercharging, whatever. Like, eh, you know, they are really ramping up. And if you look at the job postings, they're hiring a lot of marketing positions, video people, people to record videos, edit videos, people to work on advertising, place ads, creative people, all that kind of stuff. So I think they're making the right moves, and I think they're just getting started. A lot of people say, well, they put Google ads and social media ads, but that's not enough. I want a big billboard. Well, I'm sure they're going to look into that too. Maybe measure the ROI of a billboard or something. But I think they're going to make the right moves. And I don't think they're against advertising or anything like that. I think they want to be cost effective. I don't think they want to add billions of dollars of costs to the company unnecessarily. But I think they're going to be able to generate demand in a very cost effective way. And let's be real, the thing just sells itself. You don't have to do much. Just put them in it. When I get in the test drive car, this thing pops up on the screen. It says, "Get to know your Tesla." And it has all these videos for everything I need to do: video on autopilot, video on regen braking, wipers. You don't need any person to show you how to do it. The car actually sells itself. Literally, it's got videos that tell you how to use it and sell it. And then another thing which I really like is they've started doing these self-serve demo drives where they just leave a car there without any staff associated with it, right? Without any payroll expense associated with it. They've just got the car there and there's a QR code on it and you just scan it. And then you can scan your driver's license right in the Tesla mobile app, and then your Tesla mobile app turns into a phone key and you just drive the car and then you put it back. So they're starting to put these in hotels, in shopping centers, in all the places where people go. And they're actually reaching out to businesses that have existing Tesla wall connectors and destination chargers. And they're saying, hey, if you want to have a demo Tesla, we'll throw a demo Tesla there at your hotel or whatever and allow people who are staying at your hotel to go take a demo drive. Okay, maybe they have to go to dinner or something. Hey, instead of calling an Uber or whatever, let's go rent that Tesla. And you just book an appointment, you do it, and you can just put these in strategic locations, not just where car dealerships are, but you can put them in the mall. You can put them in the football stadium. You can put them in the school parking lot. You can put them wherever people go, and they can just book it all themselves, do the drive, and put it back. And because the cars are all connected to the internet, they have telemetry. You don't really have to worry about them getting stolen or anything like that.
Exciting times. I'm really curious to see what's going to be the impact of all these efforts in the coming months, quarters, years. And if Wes Hicks wants to come up and talk about it, he's welcome to do so. I know this is an expertise area for him. Jimmy, go ahead.
Two things. At the Tesla dealership in one of them in Minnesota, we do have a QR code station where there's nobody there and there's three Teslas lined up. So you just scan, you don't talk to anybody, you get in the vehicle, you can drive it for a test drive. Also, as of yesterday, you can actually test drive the new Highland Model 3 overnight. They have about three of them in my area, and so they're kind of actually filling up pretty quickly, where people are just borrowing them overnight for basically like 6, 7, 8 hours, and then dropping them off. Then the other thing is there are some pop-up stations. I've noticed them in my area as well, where they have a Tesla tent. And it's funny because the last one I saw was outside of a Porsche dealership. They basically got the city approval to use the frontage road to set this up, where there's basically like three or four Teslas, and you can go take like an hour test drive with them. And then it just tells you to return basically the car back for the other people to trial it. So the one thing I think though that I'm kind of still upset with, and I've been in other rooms, is the lack of just, I don't want to say the lack of knowledge, but just the bad stories out there. There was a woman trying to tell me the other day that she won't buy a Tesla because you have to sit by your Tesla because people will unplug it from the charging station. And I basically had to be like, well, that's a lie, because you can't unplug a Tesla once it's plugged in. But like, how do we combat that information? Can we do it through marketing, or do we want to put those resources towards, hey, these are the things that are true, or these are just flat out lies? Like, how do you target the lie?
Wes Hicks, welcome. I know this is an expertise area for you. How would you target that kind of misinformation that he just presented?
Hey, Yaman, thanks for having me up. I missed a little bit a moment ago, but I just heard the recent comments. My background's really in sales, and this is essentially overcoming objections. And Tesla's objections are rather clear. There's like a top five, um, like the charging network's all jacked up, and you can't do long distance trips. Maybe the price is too high, which I know is being addressed. And the lie that was just mentioned about unplugging. My thought is, Tesla, the context that's important. Tesla's done a great job of marketing through their customers because they made such a great product that people won't shut up about it, like myself. and that's kind of hit its limits in the short term. I think the way to go after these things is targeted marketing, addressing, your top objections. Don't worry about all of them, maybe hit 4 or 5, and do campaigns so much that these objections go away. Then I really think you could kind of slow down on the advertising and marketing because we'll have a new wave of customers that are raving about the cars and the vehicles. And then eventually we'll tackle new objections as they come up. But the current objections are so, um, they're omnipresent. They're everywhere. Everyone has them. And it's just, I think that marketing right now would be a very effective way to drive revenue beyond just price reduction.
Omar, what do you think?
I think that the 38% growth Tesla saw in 2023 over 2022 levels, I would ascribe 80 to 90% of that to word of mouth and organic reach, and 10% or less to paid advertising. And, I'm just sort of pulling that out of my ass. But, I think, maybe some people would say they should do more. They should, do a bigger ad, whatever. But, I mean, organic reach is extremely powerful. When someone sees an ad on YouTube, get the new Hyundai Sonata, only they click skip. Okay? They don't give a shit about the Hyundai Sonata. Now, when your friend gives you a ride in their new car and they can't stop talking about it and they're showing you all the features and they're saying, come on, let's go for a ride. And now they're helping you with your purchase and showing you how to use the referral code. That's much more powerful than any ad. And I'm not saying we shouldn't advertise before people get upset. I'm just saying it's much more powerful, especially with a new product like an EV, where it's not just, hey, this is the new Hyundai Sonata, but okay, this is a very different kind of product. You may have a lot of questions, a lot of specific questions that you want answered, like, okay, what if someone unplugs? Well, it's got a lock in there, it'll lock the cable in, and that type of thing. So, it, like this, it kind of feels like a little bit of a boogeyman to me, like advertising. Like, there's this sort of false debate in the community I hear, like, if only we could just get them to advertise, then they wouldn't have to cut the price. When the reality is, they said, due to people begging them, please, please advertise, advertise, you have to advertise. You remember at the shareholder meeting, Kevin came up, he said, please, can you advertise? And they said, okay, if you guys really want us to advertise, we'll advertise. And so they did it. But I don't think that this is really a substitute for the affordability strategy. Okay, maybe, you do some ads, maybe you can raise incremental demand somewhat, raise the price $1,000 or $2,000 or something like that. But EV price parity is really important. There's this one chart that I really want to show you guys from the EIA, um, from Kelly Blue Book. Let me find it really quick.
West Hicks, in the meantime, would you please give us another round of your background? I would love to understand. So you're sales executive, right?
That's right. Basically, I've kind of grown up in the information technology recruiting industry. I've been recruiting software developers and, kind of moved into management over time as well. But I would consider myself hyper technical from a software standpoint simply because I've been in that world since 1997. And the recruiting industry is a sales industry, so I've been in sales essentially throughout that time. I basically got into Tesla stock 2017, loaded up. I drank the Kool-Aid thankfully, and I've been a buy and hold investor basically since then.
I'm gonna put you
So,
on the spot. How many referrals do you have right now?
10.
That's really
Thank you.
good.
That's
That's
from a
really
long
good.
time ago. I have
Omar,
none at the in the current referral program.
yeah, that's all right. Can you imagine if each Tesla owner today, we have about 6 million in the world, sold 1, 2, 3 Teslas? I really want to get maybe I mean, you sound like you have a very kind of organized thoughts around sales methods, advertising, marketing, etc. I wonder if we could create a tool for people to access and kind of generate sales through their referral codes. Win-win for everybody. I mean, we have an incredible sales force out there already. They're knowledgeable. But Omar, go ahead.
Yeah, so here's the chart at the top. So this is from the EIA, which is the government agency, and they're pulling this data from Kelley Blue Book. So this is average vehicle transaction prices for light duty vehicles by select types. At the top, you can see there's a yellow or a brown line for luxury vehicles, and then luxury vehicles are around the $60,000 to $70,000 mark on average. And then you got non-luxury vehicles, which are really around the $40,000 to $50,000 mark on average. Really, the lower side of that, or mid 40 to 50,000. It's around 45,000 today for non-luxury vehicles. And then you can see the total industry average just above that for the non-luxury. So when people say, "Okay, Tesla's already above or below the average car price," the average car price includes luxury and non-luxury. So yes, since the Model 3, for many years, EVs, you can actually walk off the lot for a lower price than a luxury car. But what we really want is to get to the point where that's true for a non-luxury car. And that's really become the case today. So the non-luxury cars you can see are around, $45,000. This battery electric vehicle average doesn't include the tax credit. So we just bought a Model Y with the point of sale credit. We financed $40,000. And there was about $5,000 in taxes and stuff, which isn't included in this chart. So you look at this, and the Model Y is now about the price of an average non-luxury car. So this is really important. I mean, you have to, most of the market is non-luxury, So, okay, we got the same price as the luxury market. That's great. But there are only so many luxury cars sold. If you want to continue growing for years and years, then you really have to go after that non-luxury vehicle segment, and you have to be priced to compete in that segment. So this is really important. A lot of people say we need to educate consumers. Consumers, there's so much they don't know, and that's true, right? It's easy to sort of look at that and say, yeah, of course, there is a lot that people need to know, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. But it's not a replacement for what has been the vision of the company all along, which is making affordable mass market vehicles. This is something that we have fought after for years, if not decades, right? They said one day an EV will be just as cheap as a gas car right off the lot before factoring in fuel and maintenance savings. And people said, well, that's impossible. And even if it was possible, you'd never be able to do it profitably. Well, Tesla's actually doing it, and they're doing it profitably. This is really a historic. Ooh, FSD 12.2. This is really a historic moment that this is really a historic moment that we've worked decades for, but instead of celebrating it, everybody's crying. Because oh my god, Wall Street's taking their earnings estimates down. Okay, forget about the earnings estimates. If you don't make EVs affordable, then they will never become a replacement for ICE. Okay? They never will. And if Tesla doesn't do it, someone else will. And they'll be left in the luxury niche, and BYD will be the mass market electric car. So are we going to let that happen? No. We're going to compete. And if Wall Street has to take their earnings models down, so what? They're idiots. They're constantly wrong about their estimates of the company's future. I think when you really look at the totality of things, getting more cars out there is what's good to maximize the company's earnings.
All right, Omar, you want to switch topics? I pinned that up there to get your attention. V12.12 is now going out to Tesla employees and special groups for the first time. So you might be in that group.
Yeah, let me go and check my car.
I asked Tesla Scope to come in and let us know if there's any additional details around this.
12.2, that's a big version bump.
Yeah, what you have is 12.1.2, right?
That's correct. And yeah, I'm hoping this could go out to more people. I'm not seeing an update on my car yet. Let me go into my car. I'm in this upgraded Model 3 right now. So
This is a big deal because we're now going to see how fast the pace of improvement for V12 is going to be. We're going to get the first indication of that now that we have two data points. While Omar checks his car, just a quick reminder, I created a YouTube channel. If you all could please go up to the top of your screens and subscribe to the channel. A spit's distance away from 1,000 subscribers, at which point I start getting monetized. So that would be a great milestone for the space. Ads revenue from YouTube allows me to keep this space free and open to everybody. So I would appreciate it if you could go up to the top of your screens, scroll to the right, all the way to the right, and click on the YouTube link. Just one click, free to subscribe, doesn't cost you anything, and it keeps this space free and open to everybody. We're waiting for Omar to check his car to see if he has V12.2, which is a major upgrade from V11.1.2 that he has already. And we're looking for pace of improvement now that we have two data points.
yeah, this is going to be exciting. We'll see how quickly it's getting better. And V12.2 was very, very impressive, but there were definitely some rough edges showing, some red hands, some hesitation. Um, a couple of mislead. Sometimes it would like really try and squeeze into a tight spot that you know sometimes would be impressive, but sometimes it's like, oh my god, that's a really tight squeeze there. I'm not even sure I would do that. So there's a little bit of refinement that could be had. So let's see. I may not have it yet because they do usually send it to employees a day first and then send it to customers. So it's kind of a weird situation right now with only a few customers having V12. Maybe I'll have it, maybe I won't, but right here I am. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Everybody check your cars, check your apps, and if you have it, request to speak. Omar, Jimmy is asking, why don't you just check your app?
Well, I checked the app and there was nothing there. Then I went into the car and it says your car's up to date as of February 8th, 11:08 p.m. So it could be that I have to wait until 11:08 p.m. for it to check again. Or it could be that it's just one of those 24-hour things where they send it out to Tesla employees first, wait 24 hours, then roll it out to external, which has been kind of the standard procedure. So if true, then I would expect to get it, maybe tomorrow if all goes well.
So one thing you can do is you can just do a hard reset on your vehicle for 30 seconds on your wheel, and once the vehicle does the reboot, it will automatically go out and check for updates again.
Yeah, I'll give that a shot when I get home, but I'm sure they can kind of like force push it to me if they want to. I'll like tweet about it. I'll say, okay, no update from me yet. Then if it's a mistake, they'll probably see it and send it to me. But standard operating procedure is wait 24 hours, um, and then send it to the external customers. And like like there's 100 people who have it. So some people have been saying like Omar's the only one who got it, but I'm just the only person who posts on social media who got it. There are about 100 other cars that have it, including like friends of Tesla, ex-Tesla employees, that kind of thing, who are still, on good terms with the team, whatever. They're still on the list. Um, so not everybody's posting about it, but there are about 100 cars who are not current Tesla employees, but are still like able to try it early, including me. So I would expect that all those 100 people would probably get it tomorrow.
Machine. You know what? You can potentially have these updates if you just upgrade from hardware 2.5 to hardware 3.
Well, I just wanted to. I don't have it yet, but I do want to contribute some insight you may not be aware of, and this may be just only for older folks who understand this. But Omar, there's actually a trick. If you want to get the software updates, you have to play with the wheels, and you do up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, BA, start, and then you'll get all the codes. Does anyone else get that reference? I don't know.
Yes, the Konami code. We all know the Konami code.
You weren't even born when I was doing that code. I think the game was Contra. That was a good game. I mean, that really makes me feel old that I was playing video games. Probably most people on this space weren't even born yet.
Machine, are you excited about this V12.12 update? What do you think we should be looking for? What indications will we be looking for to, see if it's improving as you expected?
Well, first of all, it's V12.2, not V12.12. So just to correct you since you're wrong. Obviously, I have not seen much other than Omar's videos. So in terms of my expectations, I'm going to mostly rely on him to tell me.
I'll come
And
give you a ride
exactly. So this
this
is
week.
what I was going to say is the way we're going to know if it's actually significantly better is if this pipsqueak is going to be willing to give me a ride. Because if he's not, it means it's actually not good. He's afraid of revealing the truth of FSD to me because he knows I'm not a schmuck like some other folks in these spaces who he gives rides to who will make it seem better, talk about it in a better light. He knows I reveal the real truth. So when that day happens, we know that V12 will be really good.
Yeah, I'll
Machine,
come
I
give
know
you a
you have
ride.
one of the
I'm in LA. I'm driving back up to the Bay today, so yeah, I'll come down. We'll go do our drive. It's already good enough on this build, so I'm sure the next version will be even better.
Machine. Every single review of the new upgraded Model 3 Highland has been extremely positive. I mean, every person is in love with the car. Are you going to upgrade from your old Model 3 to the new one now that Tesla is offering FSD transfer as well?
Well, I don't have FSD, so I care about the FSD transfer. I'm not going to get. I mean, listen, I'm basically paid off my car just now, so I want to enjoy a nice few years of not having a car payment and still being under warranty for the drivetrain. I think I'll wait 2 years when it gets near the end of the drivetrain warranty. My wife, however, maybe she might be willing, um, and that might be a bet.
What does she have right
She's
now?
got her car's 10 years old. It's a Honda CRV, and she likes the Model 3. She likes the look. She would even take this car, but certainly not to so that I could get yet another new car. She's going to get the next new car. So,
I bet you she's cooler than you.
oh,
Because how else would you put up with
certainly,
someone like you?
she's way cooler than me.
Why don't you bring her around sometime?
She, of course, because she's cool. She thinks
He's afraid Yaman's gonna steal her.
to,
I won't steal her, I
she
promise.
she. I am not afraid of that. She thinks, of course, because she's cool, that these spaces are very, very stupid, as you would expect from
Well,
a
that's what
cool
I'm saying.
person.
Just introduce her to the space.
She's got
We'll join. We'll gain one cool person, another cool speaker. Maybe it'll help me put up with you a little bit better. And she won't think after a few days that these spaces are stupid because these spaces are fucking awesome.
it's very unlikely, considering the financial swings we've had due to my aggressive investing in Tesla. She literally said a few months ago, like, I wish Tesla never happened. So good luck with that.
I can't
She's
change
gonna
her
be
mind.
running FSD
Listen,
12
listen,
before
look,
machine.
dude. Yeah, seriously. We have Wes Hicks here. He is the top salesperson in the world of some company. We don't know yet. We have me and Omar. We have Jimmy. I know you do a shitty job of selling of Tesla and the Model 3 and FSD. You don't even have Hardware 3, but we can do it. Just bring her around. I promise we won't steal her. It's still be your wife. She's still gonna be your wife. We're just gonna, convince her to get rid of this stupid Honda HRV and get a Tesla Model 3 so that she's safer, so that she can
Yeah.
listen to you better in the car because it's
Dude,
so
get her the
quiet, so much
Model Y
quieter.
with the point of sale credit.
Well, we can't. We live in the Bay Area, and we actually have jobs, like, so we don't get the credit. I mean, it's kind of low for the Bay Area, right? If you work in tech.
Why does she prefer the Model 3 over the Model Y?
Yeah, I mean, she thinks it's sportier. She doesn't want to look like she has a fucking family car dragging around kids. She likes,
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. So did you take her to a test drive?
No, I mean, she drives my car once in a while.
What is the matter with you? Why aren't you doing a better job at this stuff? Just take her to a test
I
drive.
don't need to sell her.
Your
Like,
car is 78 years old, just like you
my
are.
my wife is spending all our money on our kids. You wouldn't believe how much money is being spent on her kids. So she's like, actually, probably when my car payment ends right now, that's a good time for her to get a car payment. So I probably could sell her on a Model 3. The only logistic.
Dude, you have double income in the Bay Area. Okay, you just said it. You can trade in the old Model 3, put a few more $1,000s on top of it, and get the new Model 3.
I'm not gonna trade in the old to get the new. She wants a new car. You think I want to drive a gas car? No way. It's disgusting. I'm appalled you would suggest that. Uh,
I expect anything from
the
you,
the
but just trade in the Honda HRV.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
how much can you get for
Not
that?
not much, and that's fine. I'm just there's no problem getting a new one, but I'm just saying the logistics are
How old
it's
is
10
it?
years. The,
What does Car Guru say for the
I don't know.
trade-in
I'm
value?
sure it's like a few $1,000. Uh, I have no idea there's not that many miles on it though. It's only probably like
10 years Honda HRV,
50,000
not
miles.
many miles on it. You can probably get $15,000
No
for
way,
that car.
really?
Yep.
Are
Yes.
you kidding?
Yes. Look
Right
it up.
now it's so high, yeah.
Really? Oh,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
wow.
saying. And you know what's going to happen when people like you finally wake up to the low price of the Model 3 and Model Y? Those Honda HRV resale values are going to sink.
That's
So do
wow.
it before they
That's
do.
actually think about this. I've been in this space and I know the price of the Model 3, but I still don't even understand the relative price versus other cars or other used cars. I don't know if that's true that you could sell this for $15,000. This old Honda
Open
CRV.
up Kelly Blue Book and
That's
get the value
insane.
right now.
I'm
Let's
I'm
find
looking
out.
up right now. What's the year?
It's 2014 Honda CRV. I doubt it's 15,000. It's got to be less than that.
Used car prices are so high right now.
So if you can't get $15,000, you're gonna do it, right?
That's pretty persuasive. I mean, the difference there is not that big. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's I have to think about it.
Yeah. You listen. You said
Yep.
2014, right? 2016 is
Okay.
15,500, and you said you don't have it. You don't have as many
No,
miles
it's
on
like
it.
she
So
barely.
do you have any options on it?
I don't. Yeah, it's probably base package. I'm not sure. It's not all-wheel drive.
You can get $15,000 for it. List it up and see what happens.
Oh my goodness, you're gonna get more than 15,000. I'm looking at one that's 15,000 and it has over 125,000 miles on it. Like you're gonna get like 17, 18 for that thing. What? Sell it right
Yeah,
Wow.
dude.
now.
There you go.
Wow. So I mean, the main issue then left is just the charging situation. Handling both cars, having to charge, and then road trips. We're still conservative where it's easier to take the SUVs bigger, and you don't have to worry about charging. Which if you just
Dude, are you Dan
no,
O'Dodd?
I'm just being realist. Like when you have kids,
Are you serious? You've been in this space for two
it's
years. and you have
No,
leaps on Tesla, and you're talking charging
it's not a
station on
listen.
road
It's not
trips.
a problem if you're going to normal areas, but if you're going like in the mountains, like we went by Lassen Peak, Lake Almanor in the summer. Like I don't think there was many. The last charging place was I think in like Red Bluff or something. Like I don't know, an hour and a half from there.
There's superchargers everywhere now.
Obviously, it's
You
changing
don't have to
soon.
worry
Yeah,
about it.
I don't. In a year or two, it probably won't even matter anymore. So I'm just saying that's like a slight thing you have to think about.
The only
You don't have a family.
I'm talking about my parents, my sister. We don't have any gas cars anymore. They were holding on to a gas car for a long time too, my mom's car, but they got rid of it.
I got two young kids. It's like where you're like, well, I can deal with any hassle by myself. But and normally, actually, with kids, it doesn't matter because they need to get out of the car anyways to charge. So it's just about having it around. I don't care about the time it takes to charge.
I mean, you already have a charger, so you just plug it in. It's easy.
Yeah, we got space for one car in the garage because there's so much crap in here. I got my exercise equipment, so we have to take turns parking at the garage to charge the car. Again, it's
No,
expensive
see,
still.
here's the thing. When you get the Tesla Level 2 charger, the cord is extra long, so you can actually just have it go outside into your driveway and plug it in. And I have a Tesla, and I have two young children, ages 6 and 1, and I'm getting a second Tesla. We're getting rid of our combustible engines, and we've never had an issue with travel.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna think about it seriously. I gotta look at this. This price differential is really not big.
You will pay basically nothing. And don't you have like at least a 110 outlet or something outside that you could plug the second car into in a pinch?
So you're wasting money on gasoline,
Yeah, we.
and you've been in this
I
space
can
for
easily
two
pull out the
years.
110. Yeah, I can easily extend out a 110.
Well, here's the nice
Yeah,
thing.
this is dude, you live in the fucking Bay Area. You can
Why
totally
are
be a
you,
two-car
dude? Why are
household.
you exposing? Why are you exposing your kids to gasoline burn smell? What kind of a dad are you?
My kids, of course, prefer my car too. By the way, I mean for every reason. So yeah, they'd be on board.
Machine. So here's the deal. If you go into Tesla and you buy a Tesla and you get a supercharger, a level 2 supercharger, and you're like, oh, I want to get a second one, you can actually talk to them. And I've seen it before where they've actually handed people a second level 2 supercharger. And the great thing about owning two of them is they know how to speak to each other and balance the load. So you can actually have both of them hooked up to both cars at the same time, and you won't pop any breakers or anything because they communicate.
Yeah, I think worst case actually, I can just buy 240-volt extension cord. Lose a little bit of the efficiency of charging, but yeah, I think it's doable. Okay, I think everyone's getting bored listening to this. Probably, my guess.
No, no, no. We're gonna no. You listen. I want you to right now. I want you to go to Tesla.com and schedule an overnight. Just be a good husband for a second. Schedule an overnight test drive for a new Model 3 for your wife, and take your kids for a nice ride Friday night date in this new upgraded Model 3.
I have a
This will rekindle your
I have
marriage.
a better idea, which would actually put your marriage at another level. Use my referral
I mean, this
code
is the
when
funny
you
thing
buy
to
a
me
new
because
one.
it's like you got these guys, and not necessarily machine, but like, for example, like he's always like, people don't know about Teslas. If they only advertised, people would buy a Tesla. And then the guy drives a BMW. It's like, what about you guys who are making this argument? Why haven't you bought a Tesla? Like, you know about it, right? You're an investor. So, it costs almost nothing. Like, if you got a $15,000 trade in and this thing's like $40,000, I mean, that's almost like half the cost of the vehicle. Then you factor in fuel savings and everything. It's really like a no brainer.
How many miles did you say on the machine?
I think it's like 50,000.
Oh my gosh. So that's more like a that's like a 4-year-old car, 3, 4-year-old car kind of miles. You can definitely get more than $15,000. That's insane. Anyway, you know what I find really interesting right now is that Omar, Jimmy, and me are trying to convince Machine to trade in his shitty Honda HR-V and get his wife a nice gift of a new Model 3, a all Tesla owner family, make his kids happy, make them safer, save some money on gasoline. And yet, Wes Hicks over there, the renowned sales executive, hasn't said a word.
I'm just waiting on the sidelines. Just call me in.
Yeah, go ahead. You're in. You're up, Slugger.
It is Valentine's Day next week for Machine, so it might be good timing. I do want to talk or ask Omar about or just talk about 12.2. If you guys are up for it.
Yeah, he just had a connection issue. He's coming back. But go ahead. You want to talk to Omar about
Yeah, I do.
V12.2?
Omar, are you back up?
Hey, yeah, I don't have the update yet.
Okay. Well, one of the things that maybe for everybody, but Omar can help for sure, is one of the things I'm really excited about in 12.2 and future iterations is the parking. You know, Omar, you've pointed out that it's self-parked. I don't know how many times, so after I'm done with this, maybe you can kind of add, some perspective on that. But I think that the self-parking piece is a real, potentially a tie-in to reverse summon and eventually the robotaxi network. The parking obviously is critical for both. So in terms of being able to really see from these two data points how big of a leap we're making, I think parking might be one of those. But Omar, do you think it's been dumb luck that this thing's kind of wound up in a parking spot a couple times, or is it happening every time? Or maybe you can kind of add some perspective. And also, you think you'll be able to tell a difference on future versions?
Well, I've seen it park like 3 times. So when it reaches its destination, it'll attempt to do a pullover maneuver. So most of the time, that just means pulling over to the side of the road. But if there's kind of a parking spot open, it will jump into a parking spot. So that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if it's like intentional or it just kind of leaked into the training set or whatever, but that's what I've experienced. And it's no secret that they're working really hard on actual smart summon. Have in the last few Tesla app updates, people, sort of decompile the Tesla app updates. They look inside the app package and you can see kind of what's inside. And they've noticed that the actual smart summon code has been updated a lot with the last few updates. So there's definitely something coming. Hey, maybe it's in 12.2. Who knows? That would be fucking awesome. But yeah, I think they're definitely going to ship it, and it's really going to be huge for people to see the car driving without a driver in parking lots, navigating complex scenarios. Like, this is not going to be like the old Smart Summon. This is powered by FSD Beta 12. So it's actually going to work. It's actually going to be smooth. It's actually going to look natural, not like jittery and, jumping all over the place. So I think that's going to be huge. But in terms of like the rate of improvement, what I'm really looking at is how many issues in 12.1.2 got resolved in, 12.2. Did most of them get resolved? Did only some of them get resolved? You know, is there any new stuff that's popped up? Really, how much better or worse is it than the first build?
Would you say it's parking a little bit more than version 11 in your experience?
Well, version 11 never parked.
I had one I think mine was dumb luck, but that actually parked in a spot, but it was like an empty, parking lot in front of a Target or something like that.
Yeah, I've never seen that on version 11. It might have just been an accident or a fluke or like a mistake or something like that. I don't know. But V12 seems to pull over or park intentionally at the end of every drive. And I've, repeated this a few times. Like, I think I've published like 3 videos of it parking in a parking spot at the end of the drive.
I think something interesting that's coming up in terms of that ties into this with the stock price is that reverse summon and actual smart summon. I think are going to make a huge I think they're going to get a lot of attention, out there. Unlike FSD, even if when FSD is solved, unless you're in the car, you don't know that the person's not driving. It's kind of a funny, I don't know if you guys ever done it where you you almost I don't ever take my hands off the wheel and try to act like one of those jackasses that's, puts it on YouTube or anything like that. But literally no one knows whether you're driving or not, and no one seems to care. But reverse summon and smart summon, I think if they come out soon, I think it'd be really helpful to the stock.
Yeah, it definitely would be like a massive viral marketing campaign. I see it all the time when I'm in a Waymo. People are looking, they're pointing, they're taking pictures. In a Tesla, it's doing a lot of the same stuff, but people don't really know. But if you see that Tesla moving smoothly and naturally through a parking lot in, parking lots all across the country with the end-to-end system without a driver in the driver's seat, people are going to look at that and go, "Wow, what car is that? And where can I get one?" And they're probably gonna see who it drives up to and maybe go talk to them about it. I mean, I've seen it happen even with the old Smart Summon, which was a piece of shit. When you do use it in a parking lot, people go, "Oh my god, that's so cool. Look at that. Oh my god, it's moving without a driver." But it's been so shitty that, there's rarely been an occasion to use it. And since I got my new Model S, it doesn't even have Smart Summon. So, yeah, this is going to be super exciting to get actually Smart Summon. I wonder if it's in 12.2 or 12.3 or what. Usually it's kind of like the point 0.3 build that goes wide. I think with 11, it was the 11.3 that went wide. So I could see the 11.2 maybe starting to go out to early access testers, and then maybe 12.3 being the wide release.
Wes Hicks, are you following Tesla's moves on advertising and marketing closely? Can I ask you some questions about it?
I'm not following it closely, so I don't know what insight I can give.
I'm curious how much they're spending on it. Like all the moves they're making, they're obviously trying to maximize impact per dollar spent. I wonder how much they're spending on it. And they're not spending billions on it, right? Like the other automakers, legacy automakers in total across the world spend $50 billion per year. No wonder why they get all these legacy media companies tell FUD about Tesla. Those advertising dollars are an order of magnitude more than what you usually think of them as. And I wonder how much Tesla is spending at this time.
Well, I've got a tie-in maybe to that point. It's not necessarily a financial answer or anything, but something that Omar said either yesterday or the day before, and something Warren Redlick said the other day. Warren Redlick, who I think is great, I agree with him on a lot of things, but not everything, of course. He kind of was going on a rant on one of his videos about a week ago about, look, people, all they have to do if they're looking for a new car is just go to the website and look at the price. It's not a lot of work. Of course they do that, is what he said. And I don't think they do. I think in their mind, they think that Teslas are really expensive and they just don't make the effort. Omar said yesterday, if I understood him correctly, that we need to figure out how to tell people to go to the website to look at the price. And that difference right there, I think, is where the advertising should be targeted. Is what microengineering, what actions can we get people to take so that we can make these breakthroughs? And I think that distinction is helpful. So I don't think you have to spend a lot of money for that relative to you know, the OEMs.
Thank you, Essex. So now they're advertising on what, X, Facebook, on Google Ads. They're doing overnight test
Hey, I
drives. You
just
can
got a
take a
text
Tesla.
from Tyler Corsair of
Right.
Tesla Scope, and he says no hardware 4 cars on 12.2 yet. Only hardware 3 so far.
Are both of your cars hardware for, Omar?
The one car that I have FSD Beta 12 on is hardware 4. But we do also have a hardware 3 Model S. That's my dad's. So we could maybe ask them to send it to that. I don't know. But it could be that the hardware 4 build is just a few hours behind or something. I wouldn't worry about what autopilot hardware you have, honestly. It probably works a little bit better on hardware 3,
than hardware 4 because it's been running on hardware 3 longer, but it seems to be working well on both hardware 3 and 4.
Jimmy, what do you have right now? V11.4.9?
I have to go look. My wife drives our Tesla more than I do.
Do you have an ICE car?
Yeah, we have two. We have a Bronco and we have a Tesla. And I'm trying to get rid of the Bronco and buy a second Tesla.
Which one are you gonna get?
So
Hold on. I need to say it again. I'm working on my diction. Which one are you going to get?
uh I want either an X or a 3, and I know those are two different spectrums. For one, I'm thinking an X because we can take road trips on there, but then at the same time, we already have a Y, but it would be cool to have extra room. And then on the other side, if I could just drive a 3 to work and not really use it for anything, then that would be cool for me to do.
Well, I wish you best of luck.
Thanks. It's been a rough couple of months of figuring it out. So, but the prices on threes, oh my goodness, they're so affordable, especially with like all the federal credits and state incentives. And oh man, I was a good husband, not like Wes, you know?
You mean machine? Yeah.
Oh yeah, machine. He already left. Dang it.
Yeah, he doesn't like it when you start talking negative about him. He just leaves. But it's okay.
Keep that in.
West
Keep that in the
6.
podcast.
West 6, a question for you. How is your English so good? How did you get your English to be so
I
good?
don't. I've never been accused of that. I've been accused of having a radio voice, but
Is he not like a native English speaker? He
I mean,
sounds like a native
it can
English
be, but you can.
speaker.
No, he can be, but most people, even though it is their native language, they don't have a command on the language as Wessex seems to do. So just curious about whether he took lessons before, or if he had parents, like an English teacher parent or something along those lines.
truth is, I'm always learning, and I really haven't been that great at it over the years. But um, every time I hear a new word, I'm always Googling it. I do have something for you on that note. You asked the other day for any assistance if you've ever said a word that maybe needed to be pronounced differently. And I wasn't a speaker at the time, but the word was speedometer. I think you said speedometer, but it's typically pronounced speedometer, just to be helpful.
Thank you. I
Just giving
appreciate
back,
that.
man.
Speedometer.
You're welcome.
I truly appreciate that. Yesterday, so what I do after these spaces is I need to record them, and then I do editing. But during the recording, the way I do it is record the screen as it replays. So during that time, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, I go for my natural walk, my walk around Westlake in Austin, and I'm just repeating words. So I'll add that to my list of words I need to repeat while I walk. Speedometer, in addition to pedestrian. There you go. I need some tongue twisters too. But anyway, Sawyer just tweeted 3 minutes ago. Breaking news: Neuralink has switched the location of its business incorporation to Nevada from Delaware, according to the Office of Nevada Secretary of State, and a notice sent to shareholders in the company. So there you go. William, you may go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I'm thinking about getting the new Highland and I want to transfer the FSD because I've got a 2019 Model 3. But I was wondering, but I'm also thinking about waiting to see what the performance or the ludicrous 3 will look like. But we have no idea when it's going to come out. So my question is, what's the latest I can wait before March 31st because I got to take delivery before March 31st. So should it be 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
So what kind of Model 3 do you have right now?
I've got the long range on 2019.
So I think the long range does have some upsides. I've driven both a Model 3 long range rear-wheel drive and a performance, and I love the acceleration of the performance. The 0 to 60 in 3 seconds is really great, but it does have downsides of less range, less comfort. The bigger wheels are a little bit harsher. The suspension's lower. You can definitely sort of feel those bumps more. So you are sort of giving some stuff up in addition for that extra performance. And I feel like the long range is plenty fast. It's got the acceleration boost. So I think the long range could be a pretty good option. Even if, I think the performance probably is not coming this quarter. It would probably come next quarter at the earliest, but I could be wrong. I don't have any inside information on that.
No, thank you. And everything you said is what I'm considering. And the acceleration boost is something that I was thinking would be the compromise. Just get the long range, get the acceleration boost. But I thought somebody said that the acceleration boost is not currently available in the 2024 Model 3, but I could be wrong about that.
Oh, that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, the FSD transfer is a really good deal because the FSD is obviously not only expensive, but it accounts for a disproportionate amount of the depreciation in the car. And the depreciation is really what you pay at the end of the day. So I would, definitely take advantage of the FSD transfer offer. I took advantage of it, and I'm very happy. I took my $7,000 FSD that I paid for in 2020, and now I not only got to use that $7,000 for 3 years on my Model 3 Performance, but I get to carry that forward onto this car as well. So it really is a fantastic deal. And I waited until the last minute um, to get my transfer, but generally, I would recommend trying to take delivery in the middle or beginning of a quarter if possible. I've always found that I've had the best experiences with Tesla when I do that because number one, I was rushing at the end of the quarter to get it. They were like making the car, and I was kind of like nervous about whether it would actually arrive on time. Then they said, okay, as long as you made an attempt to take delivery, it's still okay. But that was a little bit stressful. And then I find that at the end of the quarter, the delivery centers tend to be a lot more rushed. And also in terms of like the production and everything, they tend to be more rushed. So I find that in the middle of the quarter, you actually have a much better delivery experience as well as, just a much nicer car with everything sort of like clean and solid, and they had time to really check everything. And they're not sort of hastily delivering you this car, and then you got to bring it back because it's got some issue or something.
Those are great points. Thank you.
Tesla 420.
Hey, just for some context, I ordered the new Model 3 long range on January 20th, and my expected delivery date is basically March 31st. Now I am in South Carolina, so that probably has pretty big impact. But the deliveries there's some type of backlog there, or either the ram's really slow in Fremont.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, please request to speak. In the meantime, quick reminder to please go up to the top of your screens and subscribe to the YouTube channel for free. Ads revenue from YouTube channel keeps this space free and open for everybody. So if you could please go up and subscribe to youtube.com/@valleyanalyst1. I would appreciate it. We're only 200 people from 1,000 subscribers. So we're almost there. Omar, there's a question in the replies. Peter Timble says, when do our distinguished speakers speculate the Model Y refresh will come out?
I don't have any inside information on this, but I'm expecting it to launch this year, at least in China. And I'm kind of hoping they do a simultaneous US China launch, but that could be wishful thinking. We'll see. But I definitely think we'll see some of this stuff move over to the Model Y. I do see what I'm interpreting as some pressure on Model Y just due to the fact that the Model 3 got updated, and people can kind of look at it and figure out a lot of these changes are probably coming over. So it would probably be in their interest to do that sooner rather than later, especially since the Model Y is really their number one vehicle by far right now. More than 50% of their sales are the Model Y. So I would hope they get it out soon, but also it's going to be a much bigger task to transition the Model Y in 4 factories around the world than it was to transition the Model 3, a car that's doing about half the sales volume in just 2 factories.
Doug Hennick, you may unmute yourself and go ahead.
This is the first time for me at this, but I just wanted to make an observation. I watch a bunch of, or follow and watch a bunch of YouTube Tesla fans, I guess you could say. And I always find it funny that the ads that YouTube puts up tends to a lot of times be non-Tesla vehicles. And I think that's kind of funny for them to choose to advertise during a Tesla fan YouTuber. And then also seems like the last few days, I've seen a variety of Tesla ads come through. So I just thought I'd see if there was any observations about that.
Yeah, that's a good observation. I don't know if YouTubers have a control over what kind of ads they come up, but once I reach 1,000 subscribers and get access to those tools, I'll report back on what kind of control I have over what ads show up. So right now, I don't think my videos show any ads or hasn't. Thank you to those who subscribed. We're at 722 subscribers. Once we get to 1,000, the account will start generating some ad revenue, and we can keep the space free and keep it going. We're now past the 2-hour mark. I know I said we were going to keep these to an hour, but the discussions always continue beyond an hour, and it kind of felt rushed when it was only an hour. So 90 minutes to 2 hours seems like the sweet spot, as long as people want to talk, as long as people have questions. Bit of a slow news day anyway, so we're waiting for Omar to get V12.2 update that's now rolling out. According to Telescope, it's rolling out to employees and special groups. So we'll see what that means. Not on hardware for vehicles at this time. Omar, what else is on your mind?
Nothing. I'm just happy we got a few green days. V12 is doing really good. Tesla's got some amazing new cars out. People are getting Cybertruck deliveries. We got these new Model 3s out there. I'm loving my Model S. So everything's good in the world. Hopefully everyone has a good weekend. Hopefully everyone, let their emotions out, cried, and now everybody's feeling better. I think things are looking up.
Thank you everybody for coming along, and enjoy your Friday evenings. And maybe we'll start another one tomorrow, maybe not. If not, we'll see you on Monday. Take care. Enjoy your weekends.
Thanks, Yaman.